Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to Lunchtime Live in the Knicks recap show. The Knicks played their first game last night of the 2025-2026 season against the Cleveland Cavaliers at Madison Square Garden and pulled out a victory, 119 to 111 points. We're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about what we saw. We'll do a quick preview of the upcoming game. I'm joined by Jeff Klafter, resident panelist of the Dope Soul channel itself, but particularly the weekly show, and also the author of the daily sports blog, Happily Ever Klafter. The link to his blog is in the description. Be sure to check it out. It's just an easy read. He just has a flair. He just has a flair to it. Anyway, Jeff, how are you?
Always good after a win. I'll tell you, I'm a little bit surprised. I didn't know first of all, this is why you should turn off your Twitter before game day, because I turn on Twitter and first Cat is questionable. Then he's downgraded to doubtful. Right. Then he's back to questionable, and I'm like stressing here, like it's hours before the game, and it's just like, but what an important way to start the season, beating a team you did beat last year. I know they were shorthanded. I mean, it was not the full strength Cavs either. They were without 3 rotation players, and we were without 2. And you could argue that theirs that we're missing were maybe even more impactful than ours. With Garland being an all-star, and Hunter. Hunter played well for them last year, and Max Strus is a good shooter, but we were missing some guys too, and I don't think we played our best game, and we walked away with a win, and I think that's the sign of a good team.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into some of the micro stuff, individual players, but let's just start. Well, first let's just start with the starters. If you're a Knick fan, though, and you didn't watch the game and you don't know who the starters are, I got you. But I'm just saying. You should know. But anyway, the Knicks started Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Ariel Hukporti. I have him at forward. Probably was the center. Ariel Hukporti, which was a surprise for me. I wasn't sure how Mike Brown would go, but he went with Ariel Hukporti, Karl Anthony Towns, of course, Josh Hart. What is this? This is the wrong slide.
That's the projected starters for the next one. You're
sorry about that. Sorry. Ariel Hukporti, Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, and Mitchell Robinson were both out. Cleveland started Donovan Mitchell. I thought they would do Lonzo Ball, but it was Donovan Mitchell, Sam Merrill, Jalen Tyson, who's their first round pick from last year, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Garland missed the game. Strus missed the game, but also DeAndre Hunter missed this game. To your point, Jeff. But again, let's just start with not necessarily players, but let's just start with offense, defense, scheme, just overall what you saw and what you like. I don't know, Jeff, if there was anything you didn't like, but yeah, just kind of what you saw last night.
Well, first of all, the rotations were wild. Like, that was refreshing. Like, to see, I think at one point we had OG at the 5 with 4 guards in there. That was crazy. Like,
this was the 4, yeah.
And it's fine. I think this early season, especially with injuries, is the time for experimentation. I actually think the offense looks amazing. The number of wide open shots that they got. I mean, think about it. I think Towns and Brunson shot 2 for 13 from 3 combined, and we still had 119 points. Let that sink in for a minute. Like, that was incredible. Getting Jalen Brunson off the ball, which you've been begging for, really has great effect on spacing. Mikal Bridges was incredible. Let me be honest. If he plays like that the entire season he's going to be an all-star. And I thought he was every bit as impactful as OG was, and I thought OG was the star of the game for obvious reasons. I mean, Anunoby did great things, but I think you saw that he had 5 stocks. He had, he led the team in assists with 6. He didn't turn the ball over once, and there was just an energy and a bravado about his game that was absent last year. So that's a great sign. And if our wings can produce on this level offensively, we're a problem because they're our 3rd and 4th best player. If they can both chip in, and look, it wasn't just them. We had 5 starters or not 5 starters, but 5 players in double figures last night. So that speaks well of the ball was being spread. They were spraying and praying, whatever it is that Mike Brown calls it. I don't know, but they were moving the ball. They were active. The defense in the 3rd quarter was a nightmare, but I think maybe we just chalked that up to a Donovan Mitchell nuclear explosion. He went 9 for 9 in a quarter. He's an MVP candidate for a reason. Like, he's going to do that at times, but I think if you want to be encouraged, he was 3 for 16 in every other quarter. So I think defense was there for the most part. Outside of that one stretch where Mitchell just went crazy in the 3rd quarter of doom there, I thought the Knicks were pretty good defensively too, exploiting the fact that Cleveland was minus some of their shooters, but also the rebounding is what caught me, because I expected, with so many of our front court players out, that we would be hurting in the rebounding department. And OG had 14, and I think that's a career high for him. Please check me on chat.
It might be career tying. I think in the playoffs last year, he may have had 14 in one of those games.
But 14 from him and 11 from Cat, that's 25 rebounds between the two of them, and that's exactly what we needed. Porty came in with some good rebounds. I thought his minutes were good. I thought he played well. The defense was outstanding when he was on the floor, so I think that works. And I think it's kind of fun that we kind of have an Elfrid Payton kind of situation where he's going to get the start. He's going to play early minutes, but you saw the closing lineup too, and that was Deuce with those other 4 starters. And I think that's right. I think that's the
I just want to say, I don't want to get too much into the players, because I do want to talk about them like more in turn. I do want to spend more time on OG, more time on McBride, really talk about the 2 young players, to your point, that played, Huck Porty and Kolek. But just to keep with the macro view, like, my list of who and what stood out is like this long, right now. To your point, I thought the defense was active, Donovan Mitchell, like you said, exploded in that 3rd quarter. He only had 2 points, if I'm not mistaken, in the 4th quarter. 11 players played in this game. 11 players played in the first half. And listen, this may not happen every game, but what I like about that is your team has a lead. Mike Brown just let them play, he didn't panic. Like, there was a time, I think, in the 4th quarter where Cleveland went on a 12-0, 14-0 run. And there was 3 bench players in there. I want to say, I think I have it in my notes. Clarkson, McBride, technically a bench player, Clarkson, Kolek, OG, and Cat. And he didn't panic. He didn't panic. And immediately, took them out. I think he may have replaced one player or so, but I like that. I like going with lineups, different lineups. We throw a 3-guard lineup. I know we were talking like, oh, you're not putting Brunson and Clarkson out there together. You're not putting whoever, these 2 out there together. And Mike Brown is kind of like, maybe believing in his defensive principles, maybe believing in team defense. If you can just get to your spots, you'll be fine. But we saw 3-guard lineups. We saw OG at center. We saw defensively challenged backcourts, right? a lot of lineup variability. And I think it's one thing to say in your head, I don't think Brunson and Clarkson is going to work, or I don't think Kolick and this other guy is going to work. It's another thing to just put it out there and see, right? And to have hard data. So I like that. I do want to talk to you later on in the show about Clarkson and Yabusele not playing much. If you were surprised by that. I love the fact that, Brunson wasn't tasked with bringing the ball up the court every time. Now, I'm not saying that this team was being heavily pressured defensively, whoever was handling the ball, but we were able to kind of get away with different players bringing the ball up the court. Bridges initiating the offense, on some sets. Brunson didn't shoot well. I'm sure he'll find his footing. But I just liked the offensive flow. I can go on and on, Jeff. I like the offensive flow. The defense looked better than I thought it would look, particularly without Mitchell Robinson. But let's get into some particular play. I mean, you could piggyback off of what I just said, but then also after that, let's get into some particular players, and you could pick the first one.
Well, I actually, the guy I want to start with, and just as a piggyback, is Karl Anthony Towns. Because here's a guy who wasn't having a great night offensively, and we just got punched in the mouth, and we were down by 2, right? And you talked about that 14-0 run. Well, it was Karl Anthony Towns who had 7 of those points in the fourth quarter, and he and Bridges and Deuce were kind of the catalyst for that run. And here's a guy who's playing on one leg, right? You could tell that he's not like 100%. He was questionable until the game started. So for him to come through, get those rebounds, and really carry the offensive load in the early part of that fourth quarter, because look, that kind of settled us down, and they didn't really get. I don't think they got closer than 6 after that. I think that was pretty much a 2-possession game after that run. And so I'm wondering if maybe this is a result of those starters getting to rest a little bit more and being a little bit fresher come the fourth quarter, and then really being able to put the clamps down. Whereas last year, I think when we blew leads, it was almost like, well, we're out of gas. We don't, we're going to have to try and struggle and clamor through. And sometimes we did, and sometimes we didn't. But, a very, very impressive effort by Towns, who was hobbled. Big double-double, 19 and 11 on a night he didn't shoot. He didn't shoot terrible, but he certainly didn't have his requisite, repertoire. So what do you think about Cat's performance?
Yeah, he was 5 of 12 and 1 of 4 from the 3-point line, but he went to the free throw line 9 times and he knocked down 8 of them, 10 defensive rebounds. Like, defensive rebounds is a part of defense. Like, you have to close out those possessions, and him and OG did a tremendous job in that front. I thought Karl Anthony Towns looked good. I just want to see more of the offense and more of how the offense is going to feature him. Yeah. So we'll see. Obviously, I didn't like the silly fouls. I'm in my living room, like, oh, here we go. Here we go again. But again, because it was such a total team effort and everybody contributed, we were able to get away with him being in early foul trouble, right? Hukporti started. When he got into foul trouble, he gave us good solid minutes. Jemison came in, gave us good solid minutes. And I think that's all you asking. I don't think you're asking guys to come in and drop 20, drop 10. You're just asking them whatever they do well when they come in, just do that. Don't do much more. But, we could talk about OG, and we will. I thought he was the player of the game, in my opinion. But I think Mikal Bridges and Deuce McBride is in the running for it. And I do want to talk about Deuce. So we might be talking about players like all over the place, maybe not in order of impact, but we were talking about the runs that Cleveland went on. And I think one time they got within 1 or 2, another time they took the lead by 1. And it was Deuce McBride who hit. I mean, he was pretty efficient through the game. He was 4 for 7 from the field, 4 from 6 from 3. But it was the timely shot making. When a team is digging into the lead, when a team takes the lead, that's the time you need to hit the big shot. And Deuce McBride did it at least twice in terms of helping to stop a run. And just overall, I thought Deuce was at his best. Like to me, what Deuce brings to our team is very good catch. I'm not sure if it's elite. I haven't dug into the stats to say it's elite, but it's very good catch and hitting a 3, catch and shoot, shooting off the catch. Okay. And defense. And last night, I felt like he wasn't trying to do everything else. Catch and shoot and play defense. Now, I'm not trying to put players in a box, and sure, his handle has gotten tighter over the years. His being able to shoot off the dribble is something he always had at West Virginia. Didn't always translate, right? Finishing at the rim, he tries that sometimes. Catch and shoot. And with Mike Brown's emphasis on getting into the paint, shrinking the defense, kicking it out, and it's not just Jalen that's doing it. Other players are doing it as well. There's going to be more opportunities for Deuce to do what he's good at. And last night, he was knocking them down. Good on the ball defense, but also playing the passing lanes as well. To me, this is quintessential Deuce. I'm not trying to limit him, but what I'm saying is do what you do best. And that's what Deuce McBride did last night. Those timely shots, that's when I get excited. I'm sorry, Geoff. Just give me 30 more seconds.
You're good. You're good.
That's what I'm excited about. Like, you'll look at a box sheet, the box score at the end of the game, somebody had 30 points, somebody had 20. When did you have those points? Obviously you need every point, but timing matters. Deuce hit some big shots for us. And it's just my hope that he locks in on his role and that he's consistently knocking down shots. Obviously, you're going to have bad games. Don't get me wrong. But more often than not, he's knocking down shots. What did you see from Deuce? And then you can pick the next player.
Well, first of all, well said. It is a quintessential Deuce McBride game. Everything that you want to see and nothing that you didn't want to see. Like, right. Wiz is on cloud 9 this morning because his boy played a ball game last night. He led the Knicks in scoring off the bench with 15. I think there were half the games we played last year, the bench didn't score 15 points. So, I mean, good job by him making the most of his opportunities, being efficient, not forcing it, but taking what the defense is giving him and punishing them for leaving him open. And so outstanding performance by McBride. And really, again, he looks like the closer to me. He looks like the guy that goes with those other 4 starters, perhaps even when Josh and Mitch get back.
Well, I don't think you're closing with Mitch, though, just because of the free throws. I think I would think Deuce, maybe you might want to go with Hart, depending, but I would think it would be a shooter with those other 4.
Yeah, and so I really do think that the job that McBride did was commendable. And that's the best of him. We're not going to see that every time out, but when he's at his best, he's a legitimate NBA rotation player, and he got 25 minutes that were deserved, in my opinion. I thought that he played great, and I know we have some big names to go over yet, but how about we shout out Trey Jamison?
Yeah,
I thought this kid came in. It was only like 8 minutes or something, and he didn't score or anything, but he had a couple rebounds. But I thought he did a fantastic job. His ability to switch and guard in space for a big. I mean, he's like 6'10", 270, and I thought those 8 or so minutes were pivotal for us, in the game. And I thought he came in, he just did his job. He didn't, he didn't do anything fancy, but we were just better when he was on the court. And that's saying a lot for a guy who's a two-way player. Look, if you told me that Jamison was going to play over Daddier and Diawara, I don't know that I would have believed that. But not only did he get in the lineup, he played just like he did in the final preseason game. And so, he's just a good defensive piece to have. He's someone who looks like maybe we can insert him once in a while when Cat gets into foul trouble or those sorts of things. But I really, it's the little things that matter. And sometimes winning an 8-minute stretch is important. Right. And I thought that he was an unsung hero in this game, believe it or not.
Yeah, I thought both of the bigs were too. And my pick is OG. I'm just piggybacking off of what, this is not my turn. I'm just piggybacking off of what you said. I thought Hukporti played well. Listen, he's going to always bring the activity, right? He's going to always be active. But in that first quarter, he didn't get a lot of them, but he was going hard to the offensive glass, crashing the glass, getting a fingertip, trying to give the Knicks, extra possessions. That backdoor pass to Jalen Brunson, that's what I'm talking about. Just being a skilled player, pass, shoot. And shooting, that's probably not his role right now. But the fact that he was able to make that pass, first of all, to recognize it and to deliver it, I thought was impressive. So we got some really good minutes from Hukporti. If Mitchell Robinson has to miss a few more games, and even when he's low managed, are you comfortable enough with Hukporti and Jamison now after having seen them? And I get it, it's just one game.
I'm never comfortable. Let's just put that out there. I'm never comfortable. I'm not comfortable, but what, and this kind of goes for Kolek too. Faith is belief in something not seen, right? And so we're starting to see a little bit now with these two guys that they do look like NBA players. And crazy, this is going to be a hot take. I'm actually more comfortable with that duo than I am with a unit with Yabusele as the anchor at either the 4 or the 5 spot at this point. I really preferred what each of those guys brought to the table as opposed to what Gershon brought. Now, it's game one. I'm not saying it's going to be like that always, but I think it's telling that he only played like a dozen minutes. So I think that the Coach Brown kind of thought that Hukporti did a great job too. But I really loved his activity on the boards, and like you said, he had a couple dimes in that game. So his court vision is good, and so maybe we have like a poor man's Hartenstein on our hands, which would be really nice.
Yeah, he played 18 minutes. 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, only 1 offensive rebound. But in that first quarter, he was really going to the boards, getting his fingertips, getting his hands on, trying to give the Knicks extra possessions. The person I want to talk about next, obviously, is OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby was everywhere. He was everywhere. And his game was so smooth. He wasn't forcing anything. He took 17 shots, so he took the second most shots behind Jalen Brunson. He hit 9 of them. He took 9 3-pointers. 1 stepped into 2 feet above the 3-point line at the top of the key. I'm like, yo, what you do? Bam. So
no, yes.
Was there. So he had 14 rebounds, so I don't want to hear enough about OG's flying around, defending on the perimeter, so he can't rebound. He had 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He was on Donovan Mitchell. He was on Mobley. He was on Kenny Atkinson. Wherever the Knicks needed him to be, OG Anunoby was there. I don't even know if I can say an unsung hero of the game.
Just a hero, nothing unsung about it. He was singing a tune, and the second verse the same as the first. He was getting it done. OG was fantastic.
fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. The only thing is he had 4 turnovers. That would be the only negative that I would say. But look, he's not going to be, I don't think he's ever going to be a great assist to turnover guy. It's kind of like Patrick Ewing, always going to have more turnovers than assists. That's just kind of who he is. That's not his game. And you do want to keep that number as small as you can. But, you know, if he's knocking down perimeter shots like he did and along with the defense, which was spectacular, I thought. I mean, and to play the 5 and be able to do it and do it well, that's I mean, not that we want to do that all the time, but if you can steal 4 or 5 minutes when Towns is in foul trouble, that's a luxury to have. I just really was impressed by the job that OG did, and I'm sure he's sitting there like thinking, "Hey, I got 17 shots." You know what I mean? And there's not very many games last year where he got that many looks. And usually when he does have those high volumes shooting games, first of all, it's usually because he's making them, right? But he's been known to have those offensive explosions. But I didn't have OG leading us in scoring on night 1 on my bingo card. I can promise you that.
Along with 14 rebounds, I didn't have that.
I didn't have either one.
Yeah, he was amazing. You talked about Bridges in the in the opening when we were just talking about our general feel of the game. His role is expanded. It seems like handling the ball more, initiating the offense more. He looks much more comfortable. He also had 6 assists and 5 rebounds, right? Particularly 5 rebounds. Last year was, and again, it's only one game. Right.
3 steals and 2 blocks also.
Yep, 3 steals and 2 blocks. And he looked like an all-star player, particularly in that first half. Do you think because we have Bridges in this secondary playmaking role, do you feel more, I know you say you never feel comfortable, but I'm going to use the word anyway. Do you feel more comfortable with the ball handling and playmaking on this team now that we see that, he's going to be in this role a bit more?
I have more confidence, that's for sure. I'm more confident that I liked what I saw from Bridges a lot. And the thing about it is I didn't see a whole lot. Like, I'm big on sustainability, right? When I look at, like, if you win a game and you shot 65% from 3 and, and everything was like, that's not sustainable. That's not like, if a guy, it's just like Mitchell last night. He went 9 for 9 in the third quarter. That's great, but that's not sustainable, even for someone as great as he is. So let's look at what are we doing that looks sustainable? And obviously the sample size is small, but I didn't think that there was anything we were asking Bridges to do that he hasn't done throughout his career and can't do moving forward. Correct. And so from that standpoint, I'm absolutely comfortable with it. And the other thing that I think is that I think it activates him in a way that he wasn't last year. You can just tell that he's more engaged on both ends of the court, because I remember one play I saw on X that got reposted. It was a praise of Deuce McBride, but it was Donovan Mitchell. He was on Mitchell and he got screened. Well, Deuce came in front to help, cut off the drive, and then Bridges got the block from the backside. Right. And so those are the kind of plays like that's big time right there. You know what I mean? And that's, those are the plays he made in the Celtics series that got us to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So it's not that we've always known it's in his bag, but it's really nice to kind of see him being an all-around player. As Ron, still Knicks fan, shout out to him wherever he's at, those ancillary stats.
Ancillary stat. And the other thing is that the Knicks are switching more. So the screen navigation, I'm not saying you still have to navigate screens in an NBA game, but he's not tasked with fighting over every screen, even if he is guarding the point of attack, right? The Knicks did a lot of switching last night, and that helped. And Mike Brown is just trusting that, if a big gets switched out, onto a small or a wing, that they can hold their own, for a few seconds. So I think that helps him. I also think when Deuce is in the game, you can move Bridges around a little bit defensively. I think he's really good guarding wings, but I think what's underrated, because he probably hasn't been in this role last season, is as similar to OG as a free safety. Like he's really good too. Like just, being in that back line, looking and seeing what's going on and where he can help. So, hopefully he'll get a chance to be moved around, defensively as well. Love what I'm seeing from Bridges, and I agree with you. I'm comfortable with him as a secondary ball handler. Listen, we'll see. The playoffs are different. Things tighten up. The pressure gets more. Will he be as good at that time? We shall see. But I like what I saw last night. And to your point, I do think it's sustainable. And it's same thing with McBride. Nothing I saw from McBride last night that isn't sustainable. Now, if he was going to the cup and laying it up off the glass, and he was 5 for 7 and like at the rim, I'd be like, I don't know. He might have just been on a heater. But from what we saw last night, that's sustainable. What we saw from Bridges, sustainable. OG, sustainable. I'm not sure.
I don't know if OG's performance is.
Yeah. I don't know if he's taking 9 3-pointers a game.
And the rebounding was an outlier. Like I'll have to see that over a more, like, I'm not saying he's not capable, but I need to see that over 20, 25, 50 games before you know what I mean? Because that was, anytime you see something that's that big a statistical outlier, you kind of have to, you know what I mean, hit the pause button on it and say, okay, we'll come back to this in a few games. You know what I mean? But if he's able to do that changes a lot of things for us.
Maybe I'm hoping it's an emphasis from Mike Brown to him that we need you, because Mike Brown, similar to Thibodeau, is really high on defensive rebounding. Super important, right? A point of emphasis. So maybe, hopefully, he talked to him about it, and it doesn't have to be 14, but maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
We shall see. Let's talk about anybody else you want to talk about, because I wanted to talk about Kolek a little bit, unless you had, and then I also want to touch on Clarkson and Yabusele really quick.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Kolek, because I've got some crow to eat on that one. I did not see that coming at all. In fairness, there was nothing that he did in preseason or in summer that showed that he was going to come out and play composed. I didn't think there was any way he was going to see more minutes than Yabusele or Clarkson, and he played more minutes than both. And so that speaks volumes to how he looked. He was controlled. He played heads up. He played smart, like we know he can do. He made shots from inside the arc. He was only, I think, 1 of 3 from 3, but I mean, still, he's got, if he can make shots and make plays, and he did both of those things, he's a viable option. And he was our backup point guard last night. Let's be honest with you. I think Jalen played 34 minutes, and I think it was 14 for Kolek. So that was your point guard rotation. Everybody else was a 2 or a 3 in some capacity. So, and so shout out to the Kolek Hive. Again, is it sustainable? That one I don't know. I'm not confident that performance is the Kolek we're going to see all year long. If it is, it's great news though, because he was really good last night.
Yeah, I thought he was really good too, and I thought he was confident. Like one time he just came up and pulled up for a 3. Another time he went to the basket right off the tops. I mean, off the glass. So it wasn't just that, I'm just out here to manage the game and not make mistakes and, get everybody, involved. He was doing all of it, and defensively, look, he's not a great defensive player, but he fought. He fought on the defensive end, right? The effort was there on the defensive end. Listen, for me, I've never really talked about Kolek as a player and what he could and could not do. For me, it was always about, if you're a championship contending team, me personally, I would feel more comfortable with a veteran as your backup point guard. It has nothing to do with Kolek. It could be any other first or second year player, and I would have the same concern and wish, and that concern and wish still remains, right? So this was never about Kolek can't have a good game. This was always about there's always growing pains with a young player. And, when you're trying to win a championship, is that the risk you want to take that this young player will come through in the non-Brunson minutes in the playoffs? Is that a risk you want to take? He might be able to do it, but is that a risk you want to take? And that was always my thinking, more of a logical take. But I thought the way it stands right now, unless some changes are made, Kolek, Clarkson, McBride is going to be the guards, handling the ball. The Knicks just don't have, that veteran, backup.
And the other thing about that too, I think, is that when we're 2 rotation players short, right? And so I think Hart does absorb some of that ball handling, normally. And so, if those 2 guys are healthy in a playoff situation, like if we have all hands on deck, I don't think Kolek sees the light of day in that game. I'm not sure that Jamison does either, by the way. I think Hukporti would kind of shift into the Jamison role, and Mitch would be the starter, and Hart would absorb a lot of those bench minutes. And maybe I don't know who else it would be at the expense of, but I can't imagine a scenario where a healthy Josh Hart only plays 14 minutes. Like I don't see, like, do you?
I don't, but listen, I didn't think that Clarkson would play 13 minutes or 14 minutes or whatever it is. I thought that the Knicks had the most anemic bench in the NBA last year. You bring in Clarkson, who, 6th man of the year at some point in his career, a bucket getter. You would think that he would have been featured on that second unit to help boost, the score. And listen, it's one game. He very well may be. But I was a little surprised at the minutes or lack thereof with him and Yabusele, because they were 2 of the big bench signings this summer. Do you think, just what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not a Clarkson fan, so I have to be honest about that. I was not a Clarkson fan from his days in LA. I've always thought he was an inefficient Chuck, and he continues to be an inefficient Chuck. Like, that is just part of his game. If he can, if he can play, make, and defend, he's a playable inefficient Chuck, but he's not by any stretch of the imagination my first, second, third choice as a player. But he's here. I'm going to root for him. I hope he does well. Yabu, not really sure. I'm not impressed last night, but I mean,
he didn't the preseason, Jeff, not just last night.
Yeah, I mean, but we were +4 in the minutes he was on the floor. I know box plus minus doesn't mean much, but I mean, it's hard to really get on him. He was a terrible player. Like, yeah, he didn't. You don't have to necessarily put up stats to be, to play well, but he's here for his 3-point shooting, and I haven't really seen that stroke really, but a lot of the Jalen Brunson hasn't been shooting the ball well from 3 either. So it's like the Knicks as a team were below average on the night. So it's hard to kill him over that, right? I do think that his time will come, but I also think he needs to be careful, because when Hukporti's playing as well as he is, I thought Hukporti was the better player last night. I honestly did. Just last night, I thought he was the better player and more impactful on both ends of the floor. And I thought Jamison was more active and a more impactful player too. Now, obviously, if Yabusele's hitting some shots, then he, that increases his impact. But that was my concern when we signed him, is that if he's not hitting threes, where does his impact lie? Because he can't play the 5, in my opinion. And so he really, it's one of those cases where he needs to shoot well to really justify a position in the rotation. And maybe that's a good job by Mike Brown, seeing that he didn't really have it. So I'm only going to play him 12 minutes tonight. But if he's knocking him down and playing and getting shots within the flow and all of that, then maybe he gets more burn. I mean, yeah, they're key acquisitions, but they're also like a $3 million player and a $5 million player. It's not like we went out and spent, 15, 20. He's not, I mean, neither of these guys make a Josh Hart money. Let's just put it that way. You know what I mean? I think not that matters, but I think that, sometimes you get what you pay for with you know what I mean? You're bringing in guys with at that value. You hope that they exceed the value of their contract, but the value of their contract's not that much. And if they were as good as you hope, then they probably would have made more than that, right? So
I don't know if I believe that about Clarkson. I just think that this collective bargaining agreement has really squeezed some players, and so usually on that free agent market, buyout market in the summertime, you can get some good values. Just because of the CBA, teams don't want to pay the tax. Teams are really looking at, other things and making decisions. So I think Clarkson in a vacuum, if he was in free agency, probably would have got more than the league minimum, even with his inefficiencies. Yeah. But how the tides have turned that we are 41 minutes into the show and have yet to talk about Jalen Brunson. I know a lot of fans want to de-emphasize Jalen Brunson, happy that the ball is moving around. But in my opinion, in order to win a chip, your best players have to be, at their best. Jalen Brunson struggled from the field anyway, shooting last night, 5 for 18, 27.8%, 1 for 9 from the three-point line, 11.1%. He did go to the free throw line 13 times and hit 12 of them, 92.3%. And I do want to point out that Cleveland was more efficient than the Knicks. They shot, slightly better than the Knicks from the field. They shot better than the Knicks from the three-point line, but the Knicks went to the free throw line 36 times compared to just 18 for Cleveland. And I think that's just because the Knicks were more aggressive. But the Knicks shot 31%. Thank you. Please tell me this is going to be the Knicks, right? Getting to the line and then actually making the shots. They shot 86%. Remember last 70%, some 66% games. So the Knicks almost doubled, in their makes, 31 makes, no more than, almost doubled the shots that Cleveland took. And I think that was the difference. That was the difference in the game because they took 86 shots and so did the Knicks. They hit 40 of them. They hit more threes than the Knicks. So it was the free throw shooting that really made the difference.
Don't you think, though, that that's a function of the space? In other words, Brunson playing off ball, catches the ball, he can either shoot it or he can go downhill and attack,
right?
As opposed to being crowded initially right off the bat. And then
absolutely, teams loading up on him. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think that is a direct result of Mike Brown's offense because it is an emphasis of his, like, get into the paint. Because a lot of times you get in the paint, you're going to get fouled. Even Mikal Bridges went to the line 2 or 3 times, which I think he had 3 free throw attempts all of last year. So, that's an improvement for him. But again, the aggressiveness was there, and as you said, the calls go to the aggressor. And if you look at the total team fouls, it was like 25-23. So that part wasn't that much different. It was, but not all fouls are the same. The Knicks were making a point to attack the basket, and when you attack the basket, you get more free throws, and that's just that's just a fact of life. And if you're just parking guys in the corners to shoot 3-pointers, and it's all on Jalen to create and or Towns to go, you're not going to do that as much. So. I think that I think that's an encouraging sign. Not going to be every night that we're shooting 36 free throws, but we have guys who draw a lot of fouls with Towns and Brunson. So and that's a way that we can punish teams also if they decide to play hack-a-Mitch, right? Well, because that gets you in the bonus. Well, then if these other guys are attacking, you want Robinson going to the free throw line, but if we pull him out and you're in the bonus, all of a sudden these guys are going and they're getting 3 points. And so I think it maybe has an ancillary benefit that maybe we're not thinking or talking about, but that was definitely a key point to the game for sure.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, though, just your quick thoughts on Jalen Brunson. Do you like his new role now? There's always a concern, at least on my part, when you have these really good players, Brunson, SGA, I would put one-on-one players, Luka, that you definitely want to maximize the other guys. It makes your team better. You're difficult to guard. But to me, it's that tension between maximizing them but not minimizing your best player to the point where you're almost helping the other team because they don't have to worry about the ball being in their hands, creating havoc. Just your thoughts on how he looked last night, and do you feel like this role where he's just, I don't even know. I don't know if there's a statistic somewhere where we can see how much he was on the ball. I'm sure it is. And how much he was off the ball last night compared to just last year.
Well, I'm going to say a word that I don't say much. I am very comfortable with the role that Jalen Brunson is playing. And let's be honest, he was 1 for 9 from 3 last night. If he shoots his normal percentages, he's up in the 30s, maybe even 40. For his points last night. He led the team in shots, which I think is right. Like, he had 18 looks at the basket. I think that's fine. He was able to get to the free throw line a lot, and that's part of his game, and so
13 times.
The assist to turnover ratio was there. He only had 2 turnovers last night. I think he had 5 dimes. You're gonna, if you're 5 to 2, you take that every time from your lead guard. Especially playing off the ball more. I think that's a really good number for him. I don't think he's gonna shoot 5 for 18 all season long. Like, I think that probably as much a one-off as the 14 rebounds from Anunoby. So perfect. It wasn't.
Anunoby is gonna rebound this season, Geoff. It's not gonna be 14, but he's gonna rebound more.
It wasn't vintage Jalen. It wasn't prime Jalen. It wasn't Captain Clutch Jalen, whatever you want to call it. But and I think part of it was that sometimes when he and Mitchell get together, it's like he kind of, they want to one-up each other, and maybe he was forcing it a little bit. I don't know, but I thought he got good looks. A lot of his shots, I think if you looked at the shot charts or shots that were open and wide open, I think the majority of his misses would have been on open or wide open shots. And eventually he's a good enough shooter. He's a career 40% shooter. Eventually those shots are going to fall, just because they didn't last night. So that if they're, I'm not comfortable with much with this team. I am comfortable with the captain, number 11. I have complete faith in him, just from his body of work and his IQ and the whole deal. He's just a total package as far as I'm concerned on the offensive end.
I want to get to the chat quickly before we get out of here, but
we got some super chats. I know, like 2 or 3
super chats. Okay, that we didn't talk about was Landry Shamet, 14 minutes. 9 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. I thought Shaman was okay. I mean, I think all of these guys, again, just come in and don't do too much. Just play your role. Don't try to be a hero. Don't chuck up shots. Just play within the system. Take what the system gives you. Make the most of it. And I think Landry Shamet, just like you can go up and down the roster, I think they all did that.
Absolutely. I thought Shamet was good. I was surprised to see that he was -5, actually. I thought he made shots. I thought he played hard defensively, so I have no problem with the job I thought he deserved the minutes that he got, again, over Clarkson. So good job by Landry.
Let me get to the super chat. Shout out to Jason Benjamin. And people wanted washed up Brogdon over Kolick. He is a classic point guard that fits because he pushes pace, continue to build youth. Great game. Yeah, I think what's missing in translation, Jason Benjamin, it's not about skill set. It's about experience. Like, no, I mean, there are some people who were saying Kolick can't play, but that's not my argument. So if I had the opportunity, even right now, after watching Kolick, I would still want Brogdon, because what am I asking Brogdon to do? Bring the ball up the court and manage the game. I'm not asking you to be a good decision maker, right? And so when you have a veteran who's been in those situations, your hope is that when the light is bright, that they're not going to get rattled. That's the difference. That's it. We're not talking about skill set. Is that they won't get rattled. They won't turn the ball over at an inopportune time. So I think when people talk about the youth versus vets, they focusing on skill set. No, I'm focusing on experience. I'm focusing on how the playoffs are different, how things get tight. You know what I mean? How the margins are slimmer. That's what I'm talking. I'm not taking anything away from Kolick and what he might be, and he's a good foot. Yeah. In the playoffs, because I've seen Quickly have a really good regular season and disappear in the playoffs. And he's not the only one. I'm not picking on him. He's not the only young player I've seen perform well in the regular season, and then when you get to the playoffs, drop off because the lights are really bright. So my point is, when you're a championship contending team, it's a risky proposition. That's all I'm saying. So yes, I would still want a washed up Brogdon over Kolick. No disrespect to his game right now and what he's going to be. I'm trying to mitigate all risk as much as possible. Geoff, anything before I move on to the other two?
No, keep going.
All right. Jason Benjamin again. I was impressed by a defensive effort last night. Absolutely. Particularly in that first quarter, man. Everybody was rotating, moving those puppies, as Kendrick Perkins would say, and just get into their spots. So I was really impressed with the defense again. Jason Benjamin again. Appreciate you. Also felt like we were more physical than that. Well, that's always the case with the Cavs. Listen, and this is not our problem. Jared Allen, 28 minutes, 4 points, 4 rebounds. Like when two of your starters are out the game, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but that's not our problem.
But last year when we played Cleveland, they crushed us in the paint. Like they really did. Like when they were killing us, they were absolutely dominant in the paint, and that was not the case this year without Mitchell Robinson. So I think that's a fabulous sign. Like that shows that we have some depth at the 5 spot. That was kind of what I was worried about with 2.5 injured, two people out and a half a big in Cat not being healthy at all, and it didn't matter. Like we out rebounded them, I think, and we look good guarding the paint. And even I think Atkinson said that they got outworked and out hustled, and that's the formula that has worked for us in the past against the Cavs. It's nice to see that we can work that formula even if Mitch isn't in the lineup. So
yeah,
that's a big deal.
Let me get to just some of them. What's the use of drafting if you're not trying? It's not about giving them a chance. It's where you give them a chance. Giving somebody a chance as the 10th guy and giving a young player the chance as a backup point guard is two separate things. Kolick didn't turn it over and didn't look rattled. This also wasn't a playoff game, which is my point. Wiz BKLA, I think the Brunson usage will morph into a better balance of on ball, off ball. He may need to touch the ball more to get comfortable doing more off ball. That's a fair point. Shout out to Jerrell, appreciate you. This offense is way better just off one game alone. Absolutely. Shout out to Kerry Cox from the Wayne Peterson. I think Yabu showed he can guard taller power forwards. I'm gonna try to look at the game again. I think I'm gonna try to look at the ESPN because I looked at it on MSG So maybe I'll look at the ESPN telecast the next time. I'll see. Okay, Anthony D. No, I'm not sure what he's saying no to, but I appreciate you dropping by. Andrew K. I appreciate
Probably something
you.
I said. I get Anthony D to say no like that a lot, I think.
Delusional. Shout out to Delusional. I was ready to move the kid, but he was a general last night. Yes, he was. I'm not taking anything. Like, don't miss my point. But I'm not taking anything from them. Anthony D. Let the colic hive have their moment. Okay. All right. Knicks loyalty. Appreciate you. The rebound. He's listening to us on X. All those from listening on X. Appreciate you. The rebounds from OG. Loved it, but small sample. Let's check back in 10. All right. He in the Geoff hive. Nick loyalty is in the Geoff hive. He's not buying it. We'll see. Geraldine, I appreciate you dropping by. Let me see that I miss anybody. Knicks Nation. Wonder Woman, Double D. Hello, everyone. I like what I saw. Say that again. Oh, hello, everyone. I like what I saw last night. I think Jordan Clarkson and Yabusele need some more time to get acclimated, to get into the groove. I think for starters is for them to hustle on defense, be patient, and let the offense come to them naturally. Clarkson did have a nice dime to Cat when he got into the lane. Like, he didn't try to just, throw it up. And we talked about it. He is an underrated passer. So it was good to see him do that. JJ in the house. OG crashing the boards was nice to see. That's an area I want to see more from him. I'm with you on that. And I think he's capable. G Money in the house. We were Hollywood swinging the rock to produce open shots. We definitely did. Shout out to Ajay sneaking in on his lunch break. Don't get fired, Ajay. You can listen to it afterwards. Knicks Nation, I think Deuce timely threes gave us control of the game. I've been talking about timely threes from my MBK days. And Knick Nation, you hit it right on the head. They were definitely timely threes. Kerry Cox, Shamit won over Matthews because of defense. I'm definitely in the Geoff hive. Obi got to show me something. Fool me once. Anyway, we are out of here. I didn't get to, I spent time on my slides. I didn't even get to my slides, but that's fine. That's fine. I do want to just update you all that, where you at, Geoff?
I don't know, but it's okay. Continue it. They don't need to see my face.
All right. The next two opponents, Friday, we playing the Boston Celtics at MSG, 7:30 p.m. They lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, I think by like 1 or 2 points. It was a really, really close game. And then Sunday at 6 p.m., we are at Miami. Both of these teams, let me see. Did I create a slide? Yes. So these are the projected starters for our next game against Boston. This is who started their last game against Philly. Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, who had a hamstring injury, but he did play. Sam Hauser, 6'7", I think, 6'8", playing power forward for them. And Neemias Quirrell, I got that wrong. And obviously Tatum was out for them. But that's who we're playing Friday, 7:30 at MSG. Any last words?
We got a show tonight, right?
We got a show tonight. I almost forgot. The weekly show, 9 p.m., hopefully I'll have it fixed so you guys can call in tonight for real. I don't know. The robot had us last time when people were calling in, but hopefully it's up and running tonight. And I do want to get my guy before we get out of here, Lee Escobedo from Nick of Time Show. I have to apologize to Taylor Kolick. He showed some excellent reads against a really strong defensive identity. They tried to blitz him as the game went on, and he made the right reads almost every time. Shout out to Kolick. I thought he had a really good game. Not taking anything away from him. 9 p.m. tonight, ladies and gentlemen, replay gang, silent listeners, the chat. Until next time.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
great